Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into the powerful and often kind of invisible forces that can either launch a company into the stratosphere or bring it crashing down. We're going to look way beyond the balance sheets to understand the big picture that really shapes a business's destiny. So, have you ever wondered about this? I mean, a company can seem totally unstoppable one year, and then suddenly it's facing massive headwinds the next. What on earth changes? Well, a lot of the time, the answer isn't something inside the company, it's in the world around it. Let's unpack exactly how that works. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down what industry analysis even is. Then we'll jump into 3 key trends you've got to watch. After that, we'll see if a trend helps or hurts a business, put it all into action with a real-world case study, and wrap up with why this stuff really matters. It's a simple, but trust me, a super powerful way of looking at things. So, first up, what is industry analysis? You know, I love this analogy. Most of the time, we put a single company under a microscope, right? Well, for this, we're trading that in for a telescope. We're zooming way out to see the entire universe that a company lives in. It's all about the big picture. And here's the key thing to remember. Market and industry trends are like massive ocean currents. They affect all the ships in a particular sea, not just one. These are those external forces, the tide, the wind, that every single company has to figure out how to navigate. Okay, so how do we make sense of this big picture without getting totally lost? It's actually pretty straightforward. We can break it down into 3 major categories. These are the big forces you absolutely need to keep an eye on because they literally have the power to create or destroy massive amounts of value. And here they are, the 3 pillars of our analysis. Technology shifts, regulatory changes, and, of course, changes in what we, the consumers, do and want. A major change in just one of these areas can completely redraw the map for an entire industry. Let's take a closer look at each one. Man, this slide just says it all, doesn't it? A single shift in technology can create these crystal clear winners and losers. Think about it. The smartphone didn't just invent ride-sharing apps. At the exact same moment, it started to dismantle the entire business model of traditional taxis. 1 innovation, 2 totally different fates. Now let's talk about regulations. When a government decides to pass stricter environmental laws, that directly piles on costs and headaches for, say, a coal company. But on the flip side of that same coin, those exact same laws often create huge incentives that give a massive boost to the renewable energy guys. And finally, our own habits. I mean, as more and more of us choose the insane convenience of shopping from our couches, traditional retail stores are facing this massive challenge. And that very same shift in our behavior, well, that's the rocket fuel behind the explosive growth of e-commerce platforms. Okay, so we've spotted the trends. That's step 1. The next, and maybe most important step, is to figure out what they actually mean for a specific company. Is a trend like a helpful tailwind pushing the business forward, or is it a brutal headwind holding it back? And before we can figure out the impact, we've got to understand what we're looking at. And that all comes down to the company's business model. It sounds fancy, but it's super simple. How does this company actually make money? That's the core question we need to answer. The analysis really just boils down to this, a simple plus or minus. Does this trend help the company make more money or work more efficiently? Great, that's a benefit. Or does it hurt sales, drive up costs, or maybe even threaten its entire reason for existing? That's a harm. Simple as that. All right, enough with the theory. Let's make this real. We're going to take this whole framework and apply it to a company we all know, the car manufacturer Maruti Suzuki, and just see these forces play out in the real world. And wow, this slide just perfectly lays out the complex world these companies live in. Look at this. On one side, Maruti Suzuki gets a boost from things like the Make in India initiative and a growing middle class. But at the exact same time, it's facing threats from the EV revolution, tougher emission rules, and even the cultural shift away from owning a car thanks to ride-sharing. It's this constant tug of war between opportunities and threats. So we've done the analysis, we've spotted the trends, but what's the point? Why did we go through all this effort? Well, this is where it all comes together. It's about making smarter, more informed decisions. See, this framework isn't just some boring academic exercise. It's a real practical tool. It helps you get a sense of what's coming down the road, spot hidden dangers before they become a problem, find new ways to grow, and ultimately get a much, much better idea of what a company is actually worth. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This kind of thinking is a cornerstone of what's called fundamental analysis. Seriously, anyone who wants to truly understand a company's long-term future, whether you're an investor or just curious, you need to have this approach in your toolkit. So, I'll leave you with a question to chew on. Using this framework we just walked through, technology, regulation, and consumer habits, what's the one big picture trend you think is going to define the next decade? Thank you so much for watching, friends. Before you go, please drop a comment and let me know which stock or sector you'd like to see me analyze next. I really do read all your comments. And remember, here on your analyzer, we don't just talk about stocks. We also explain and teach every fundamental concept in detail so that you can become a confident analyst yourself. So for more of this kind of deep learning and market insight, go ahead and subscribe to the channel now, and don't forget to hit that bell icon. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Disclaimer. Educational content only. Not SEBI registered. This is not a buy/sell recommendation. Invest at your own risk.